Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today is the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day, um, and also part two, if you will, of my looking back at my involvement in the Twin Peaks fan community that spans now 10 years. And for this second installment, I thought, who would be good to join me for this discussion? And only one name really rose to the top. And that is Mandy here with her awesome new hair. How's it going, Mandy?
It's good. How are you?
Good. It's been a while since you've been on here and
Yeah.
since we chatted. And I'm so glad that you're here because I think we're going to be talking about some really cool things. But first up, I do want to bring up, because this was just dropped the other day. It's official, folks. Maybe not entirely official, but it's official because it's right in front of me. And that is there is a new Twin Peaks festival happening in Snoqualmie and North Bend this February 24th through the 26th. Real Twin Peaks days in the real Twin Peaks. Now, for those of you who may have been out of the loop, this was originally called Steeplejacks, but when I talked to the Chamber of Commerce, they said they wanted to change the name because if they called it Steeplejacks, they assumed 5 people were going to show up. So they kind of decided to really kind of hit it over the head here by calling it Real Twin Peaks Days in the Real Twin Peaks. Now, if you go to the website, therealtwinpeaks.com, you can follow along. And this is the kind of name, Mandy, that even makes the strongest of Showtime's lawyers get a bit blushy.
Yeah.
And anyway, so let's kind of go through some of the things that they bring up. Here's nice Twin Peaks sign here. All right, so there's going to be a Twin Peaks themed panel. So there's our third Twin Peaks mention here. I kind of bring it up only because there was an Airbnb. I don't know if it's still happening up there, but there were lovely people who ran it, and they called it like a Twin Peaks Airbnb. And even Showtime reached out to them and said, no, you got to change the name. So they ended up changing it to, I believe, Sleeping in the Peaks, which, it's kind of their way around it. And so when I first heard the name was going to be called Steeplejacks, I was like, well, yeah, people aren't going to know what it is, but, there's kind of a clever way around it. But, is we got Twin Peaks Days and the Real Twin Peaks with Twin Peaks themed panels. They are going all in on this Twin Peaks. Which is just kind of interesting. There's going to be cosplay, of course, because, what is a Twin Peaks festival without a bunch of people dressed up as Laura Palmer and Audrey Horne running around Snoqualmie and North Bend, pretending to be hunted down by Wyndham Earle and Leland Palmer. There's going to be a dinner and dance party. There's going to be a Fire Walk with Me drag trivia, because when I think of Fire Walk with Me, I think of drag. Also, I just don't understand. It's like, what does this mean? Fire Walk with Me, but drag trivia. I mean, no offense. I just don't know what that means. That could mean a lot of things. And I don't know anybody who's going to be showing up. Maybe there will be, but I can't think of people who would show up in, Laura's white lingerie outfit in the middle of February up in the Pacific Northwest. But God bless you if you do.
Yeah.
Special Tweeds diner seatings. So you'll be paying extra money on that day to go when you could just wait a couple days and walk in for free. And there's going to be a charity auction and more. Performances will be by Lynch, who is a Seattle-based electric keyboardist, and creates music basically for Game Boys. So that's, when I think about Twin Peaks, I think about Game Boy music. But it's nice to have the Seattle based artist there. I mean, Wisteria Lodge, they've kind of, this is the new band that kind of sprung up after the whole Wisteria Unrecorded Night thing, and they kind of took the name from obviously Twin Peaks and Wisteria, and they've really kind of been making a name for themselves lately. Rebecca Del Rio.
I haven't heard them. Are they like a synth type music? Have you heard what?
I haven't, honestly, to be honest, I haven't heard their music, but they've been guesting on a lot of people's shows and podcasts and things like that. And they have their own Instagram. And I have to say, they take very, very good pictures.
Oh, cool.
So if anything, they know how to market themselves really well.
Hmm.
And they're a Pacific Northwest band. Rebecca Del Rio, of course, showing up, which really kind of blurs the lines in a way in terms of like them wanting to keep this one foot in the David Lynch world, but also saying we're not affiliated. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. DJ Morgan, I tried to look up some information. I have no idea who this person is. No offense. I'm so sorry. Says the real Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is a place that lives in the hearts and minds of the fans. I really have an idea who wrote this, but well, I won't mention that here. Every single one is a resident of this town, and the filming locations are condemned to this other world. Every year, thousands of fans make the pilgrimage to the real Twin Peaks. Now, Mandy, when you hear that, the real Twin Peaks, they're really kind of throwing it in your face. I think this seems like a jab against the whole Graceland event, when people are saying, well, why are they even doing it in Graceland? It's like, that's not the real Twin Peaks.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you want to be a complete jerk about it, you could say that 90% of the real Twin Peaks is in California.
That's very true.
Considering that seasons 1, 2, and 3 were 90% shot in California. But yes, obviously the iconic locations are, important. This year, during the weekend of February 24th, the Snoqualmie Valley will honor its heritage as the real Twin Peaks again by proclaiming it officially Real Twin Peaks Day. I almost want to take like a shot of whiskey every time they say Real Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
In the towns of North Bend and Snoqualmie, as it has for the past 5 years. They will also be welcoming fans for a weekend of theme fun around town while raising money for local charity. Fans are encouraged to cosplay in their flannel, red lipstick, or saddle shoe best all weekend, as local businesses offer themed specials, meals, drinks, events, and a silent auction. So this kind of says to me, like, show up, dress up so we can identify you, but then just go about your life, because it doesn't sound like it's really that organized. It just sounds like, it's
Mm.
just like show up, go to some businesses, have a Laura Palmer cookie and get some coffee and walk around. But if you're cosplayed up, we at least know you're here for that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is the first year. I talked to the Chamber of Commerce. They are hoping to do this on a yearly basis. We'll see what Showtime has to say about that. But
Yeah.
I do think that if they called it something else, it would be easier to get away with this. They're kind of just putting all their eggs in a basket and just going for it,
Mhm.
which would not be a problem if it wasn't for that some of the people affiliated with this festival, were some of the biggest naysayers about me making Queen of Hearts and being, that's an infringement on Showtime and Twin Peaks and David Lynch and Mark Frost. But, one is a fan film and one is now on a website called The Real Twin Peaks. Anyway, I do wish them the best. Let's see here. It says, join us for Twin Peaks themed events, right? So $300 gets you the very limited 21 available. I find it interesting. Only 21 available VIP tickets. That says to me like the Fests and their friends have first dibs at those and everybody else gets everything else. However, I will say this. If you go to every one of the events, it will cost you $140. If you get the VIP, it's going to cost you $300.
Oh.
Now, the difference is apparently, you get to maybe, get some cool collectibles or I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the $300 is going to be worth it considering. I mean, maybe you'll have like a special, party at someone's house up in Everett, Washington or something like that. But, otherwise, I don't know what else this gets you. So I look forward to hear what the VIPs take away from it that are not affiliated with the festival organizers. I want to hear from somebody who actually doesn't know anybody involved and buys a $300 ticket.
Well, Well, yeah,
And this
like are they having like a big dinner or something
no,
in a
no,
place that is
no.
limited capacity?
The Tweeds Diner, but I mean, you can eat there anytime. It's a diner. It's open.
Yeah.
So, anyway, says the celebration begins Friday at North Bend's honorable Mayor McFarland reads the proclamations at 11:30 a.m. at the sign spot. Hopefully, they don't get hit by a truck. Well, I mean,
They
that's what.
widened the road, so it's
Oh,
probably
that's true.
safer.
That's true. Okay. Well, because every time they put up one of those new fake, welcome to Twin Peaks signs, it gets run over within like 20 minutes. So. Watch the live stream, cozy and warm with coffee and donuts at the Snow Valley Fraternal Order of the Eagles. All right,
What?
so I don't know. So apparently they don't want you at the sign reading. They want you sitting at the Fraternal Order of the Eagles and watching it online. So, okay. Then we have a special limited dinner at Tweeds. Then we have a theater showing something. I assume that's going to be Fire Walk with Me or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then the after party with Wisteria, where it only costs $15 to go to the after party. So it's one of the few after parties where the drinks cost more than the tickets to go in. All right, Saturday will be full of panel discussions about screen use props, filming stories, tattoos, and way more. That sounds exciting. These will be led by actors, fan experts, popular podcasters, authors, and the original prop master for the show. Mandy, I think my invitation was lost in the mail because
I think so. Yeah.
I certainly was not invited. It says these will be led by actors. What actors?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not trying to pick on this. I'm just asking questions. Is if you're gonna charge $300 to go, shouldn't you let people know who's gonna be there? When you say actors, you're telling me that like people potentially like Kyle MacLachlan could show up. I don't know who these actors are. Who are these actors?
Yeah, fair. And original prop master too. Like, how does this work?
Exactly. But it says fan experts. So basically the people on Twitter, or that are friends with the fest organizers, because they'll never invite me. Popular podcasters. I like how they say podcasters. There's definitely an elite thing going on out there where, and I've seen this for years now, where it's like, there's the Twin Peaks podcasters and there's what I do. They don't take me seriously because I'm on video. Apparently just having your voice on Apple Podcasts is good. Anyway, but popular podcasters, authors, and the original prop master for the show. All right, so that's Saturday. Then you get a View ticket. I guess everyone's just going to be boozing it up at the Twin Peaks sign here because it says includes 2 free drink tickets. So is there going to be a bartender on the side of the road here? I don't know. We will be closing our weekend with a special performance by Mulholland Drive's Rebecca Del Rio at the North Bend Theater. See that? Does that seem like just a rip-roaring like weekend? It doesn't even sound like there's anything going on. But
it's much different than what the festivals used to actually be.
Right.
So.
Right. I remember there used to be like a scavenger hunt around town and things like that. Then at the bottom though, it says the real Twin Peaks is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with Twin Peaks Productions Incorporated, David Lynch, CBS, or Showtime, or the Twin Peaks franchise. Even though they've said Twin Peaks about 100 times in this thing, they're going to be having Twin Peaks themed discussions. We're going to be, having performances by people that were in Twin Peaks. We're going to be doing Fire Walk with Me and cosplay, and we're going to be at the sign and all this stuff. And yet it has nothing to do with Twin Peaks, Mandy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see, like, if they'll even get shut down before they start, because Showtime has always been pretty on top of, I'll say the word counterfeit for lack of a better word, but people that are trying to innocently use Twin Peaks for anything, they're out like right away. So.
Even people, I remember a guy in Minnesota did sort of a Twin Peaks sort of ode to the show display in his shop in Minnesota, shut down.
Wow.
This is I mean, there was a festival in this area, and it got shut down.
Yeah.
For a
And it
variety of
had been
reasons,
running
but
for decades.
right.
You
And
know.
so to just kind of like thumb their nose at, like, it's not like they contacted them and said, "Can we do this?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we'll look the other way." They're just going for it because,
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce told me, "No, we're not affiliated." And they said, "We're hoping they don't notice.
Hmm. And I
We're
mean,
hope we're hoping they don't notice."
anytime people can get together and do, Twin Peaks related things, I think that's great. Like, all the power to you. I hope it goes well. But
Right.
it's not, I mean, I think it's a slippery slope when you're dealing with an organization that has been so um so hard, like so hard on bringing things down. So I hope it works for them. Like, all the power
I
to
do
you.
too. I do
Yeah.
too. Here's what gets me nervous. They they they're just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
people are buying plane tickets to go to this thing.
Yeah.
And I remember asking the Chamber of Commerce, what happens if they show up and it's closed down? I mean,
Yeah.
it's you don't want that to happen. So let's just go through this real quick. VIP ticket, very limited, 21 available, and it still says add to cart. So as of this date, they are not sold out. Access to green room. I don't know what that means. Everyone wants to go to the red room, not the green room. Special souvenirs and more. I think, weather permitted, I think this will do well with the locals up there.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some. I know, like, John Thorne is going, and
Oh,
makes sense
cool.
for him going. I mean, he just has a book out.
Yeah.
He's kind of on a tour. I'm sure Scott Ryan will be there. There's going to be people up there, but for this thing to really take off, they're really gonna have to get the locals involved here, because especially as do as an annual thing. Yes, I know there was the Twin Peaks Fest and that did well, but again, there was a limited amount of spaces every year because they were taking tours and buses and things like that.
Yeah.
This is basically like, you show up, and if you go, you go. Otherwise, you can just sit at Smokey Joe's bar and just get plastered all day long and think about Sarah Palmer. So anyway, I wish him the best. I mean, there's a few people involved with this thing that probably should not be involved, but I'll save that for another day. That being said, I mean, I'm happy they're trying.
Yeah.
But if they had stayed with the steeplejack, they probably would get away with it a little easier. This could potentially have somebody affiliated with, Showtime or CBS showing up and just like, shut it down.
Yeah.
And
that would be awful.
That would be disastrous.
Yeah.
Because the money, a good chunk, if not all the money, is going to charity. And how devastating that would be to have all that money yanked. And when people gave me crap about, like, well, you are infringing on the rights of Showtime and CBS and David Lynch and Mark Frost, and they're going to hate you and they're going to sue you and they're going to chop your nuts off for making this movie. I was like, I'm just doing this out of love. You know what I mean? I'm not making a penny on this thing. And this thing is called The Real Twin Peaks, in the Real Twin Peaks. Come visit the Real Twin Peaks, and it's $300.
Yeah.
So whether it goes to charity or not, money is being made.
Yeah.
Money is being transferred in the name of Twin Peaks, even though it says at the bottom of every page, this thing has nothing to do with Twin Peaks. At the bottom here says, the Real Twin Peaks is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with Twin Peaks Productions Incorporated, David Lynch. They just conveniently left Mark Frost's name off this. CBS or Showtime Networks Incorporated, or the Twin Peaks franchise. But every single page says Twin Peaks on it.
Where did you see it about the money going to charity?
Oh, it's all over.
Okay.
And on a lot of their announcements and things like that.
Okay.
Which is that's awesome. That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
just would hate it for them to get shut down and then that charity doesn't get any money.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things you kind of have to think about. Hopefully they did, because this could either go extremely well, or it could completely blow up in their face.
Yeah.
And some of that may have to do with weather, because if it's completely snowy or rainy, good luck doing your cosplay saddle shoes around town.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So a lot of it is weather based, and the fact that they're choosing February, I know they're trying to do the whole Laura Palmer thing, but it's cold up there in February.
Yeah.
And I've been up there, and I've been up there in March. It snowed, and I was up there.
Yeah.
And that was March.
Yeah.
So anyway,
summer's always been a better time to do stuff like that, just because there's more, freedom to roll around and
roll around.
I mean, walk around and whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I hope it works for them.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
Prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. And obviously they'll know by this first, iteration of it, what they can do better next year. Because sometimes you don't know until you do it.
Yeah.
But what's not on the website?
What?
A sexual harassment policy, which is some of the people who are involved with this new Twin Peaks days were part of the sort of takedown, if you will, of the US festival back in January of 2018. And that was one of their biggest things. How dare you charge $300+ for a ticket, and every festival has a sexual harassment policy posted. Well, here the tickets are $300. Yes, VIP, but still $300. And there's no sexual harassment policy. So it's sort of like, did you forget what you were saying, or did you only say that because you were, trying to gear that towards specific individuals because you guys are too good for that? Personally, I would have a lot more respect if the tickets were cheaper, considering that from what I've seen, doesn't seem like there's a lot of things that are going to cost a lot of money. It's more of just like it's money donated towards charity. So you're not putting a lot of money into this. Maybe, I'm sure a lot of these places are donating their facilities for free, if not really cheap, so because they know there'll be more business for them. But there's no sexual harassment policy, which I normally wouldn't notice that kind of thing, but they brought it up back in the day. So I'm just kind of saying, what's the phrase? What's good for the goose is for the gander. Anyway, I just find that rather interesting. But all right, let's get back to the topic at hand, and that is to reflect upon the Twin Peaks fan community and my experiences with it over the last 10 years. Where I left off was, I believe, I'm going to start around April of 2017. Obviously, we are in the midst of, Twin Peaks coming back, Mandy. It's coming back.
It's the couple months to go. When did it start? May?
Yeah. May, yeah. And everyone's getting really excited. And, and at that time, just to kind of give you guys a look back, I was still doing videos with James on weekends, but I would also kind of mix it up with other people. I just want to give a shout out to some of these other people. Joel Bacco from Lost in the Movies, Dirk, Richard Austin, who is a great writer, Eric Bruce. You remember Little Debbie from Scotland? With the little red hair. She would come on, and she actually gave me one of the biggest laughs of the whole time, that whole period, when wasn't she like on one of the shows, she was like in her pajamas,
yeah,
and then like Sabrina Sutherland showed up, and she like flipped out. I saw her eyes go all bugged, and she like turned off her camera or something. That was hilarious. All right, so yeah, I mean, it was just a great time. I kind of look back as like, obviously there was the original series when it was on, and I know you made a lot of memories with people going to the fests and stuff like that back in the 90s. I never went to those. I didn't even know they really existed, to be honest. There was no internet back then, so I didn't know about this stuff. I'd always wanted to go see the area, but I never really got a chance to go see it until after the 2000s. But I mean, to me, I think that the summer of 2017, and I've seen this said by a lot of people, I think that the summer of 2017 was, I'm going to say, probably the greatest Twin Peaks experience I've ever had. And the reason why I say, because I mean, I had a great time when I was younger and the show was on. But that was shared between me and maybe, I'm being kind here, about a handful of friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fun to be after the show, call each other up. What do you think? Oh, what do you think's gonna happen? What do you think this means? Blah, blah, blah. It was a whole different thing to be doing that with like 300 people online on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. But for the most part, it was average. Like we're getting about 300 people a show. And I look back at that now and I go, my goodness, you think it's going to be like that forever. And it's not. It's just because Twin Peaks was like super popular at that time. And we just happened to be at the right place at the right moment. And, you always felt alone in your Twin Peaks fandom, even though it's like you had other people that, knew about it, but it always felt more of like an internal thing, something you should kind of, right. And this was like the first real time you could connect with a lot of those people online. And it was just an incredible feeling. I know that, people still talk about, oh, that summer of 2017, like it was like the summer of 1969 or something,
Yeah.
And I think it was just because, it just felt like a giant family coming together. I mean, for a long time, when I was doing the Twin Peaks videos, again, I've said this a million times, but like, this channel was always supposed to be doing lots of different topics, but because of my schedule, I could really only do like 1 or 2 videos a week. And so, because I was running the Facebook page with James and Joe and a lot of other people, and when I say it, literally there were like 15 other admins, so it was like crazy sometimes. It it got to the point where like I could do like a Twin Peaks discussion usually like Saturday or Sunday. So the channel just naturally got disassociated with that. And because it was like a once a week thing and James was usually around, it ended up just being me and him like de facto hosts. But if I was doing it, if I was doing the channel all the time, I would be doing shows with all types of people talking about all types of things. And just saying that like people just naturally assumed the channel was just always me and James, and it was never created to be that. It just ended up becoming that for a long time. So when 2017 happened and there were a lot more interested people, and I knew that I was going to be able to do more than one show a week, it just opened up the floodgates.
Yeah.
And, there were people coming out of the woodwork, and, there were times where we were doing shows with like 10 people on at once. And I absolutely loved it because that was always what I had hoped for this channel, always wanted for this channel. And, and for, a brief period, whatever, 6-7 months, it was that.
Yeah.
And it was truly like the happiest I've ever been on this YouTube channel. And so let me just ask you, what are your what are your memories of that time?
I mean, the same thing as you, like when you were talking about the festival, I was like, I don't remember how I even knew that there was a festival. I think maybe I had gone down and visited there, and was taking flyers out of that Alpine Blossom store where they used to sell the posters. Still to this day regret not buying like the big Laura Deadface poster and the poster of Cooper and Truman, because I was new to the show at the time and I was like, I don't want a picture of a dead girl. That's so gross. And now it's like, oh, I wish I had that. So maybe there was like a flyer there or something, but yeah, I mean, there was no internet back then. We didn't have ways to, I mean, me and my festival friends, we would write letters and I still have all of them. Because that's how you communicated back then. So to have the show come back, which was a miracle in itself and just a really fun thing, and then to be able to communicate with people all over the world whenever you wanted to about it, it was just awesome.
And we had people all over the world on this show. I mean, we had people from Iran and, you know, UK and I mean, Canada and Australia. And I mean, at one point, I mean, we were like this global thing happening here. And, you know, there were other people. I mean, obviously 25 years later was starting up. And, you know, but like, and even though like people were aware of each other, it was just kind of like people had their own little thing. And the way I looked at it was like, yeah, this is obnoxious and anonymous, but there were a lot of people with a lot of YouTube channels. You know, there was Frank, there was Annie from the How's Annie channel, and they were really great individuals who were doing really great content. And I think they would, you know, say that like they weren't getting the views that they deserved. And I thought, okay, you know what? It'd be great to have them on the show. It'd be great to have their input. And at the same time, maybe this large audience that we've cultivated over here will then, of course, subscribe to their channels, right? And I mean, that was always the hope. And I think a lot of them did do that. So it was like, I always felt like everybody would have their own little thing going on, their own little YouTube channel, whatever they're doing. But then we'd all come together and do this channel.
Yeah.
So there's just, I mean, there's a few things that I want to discuss here. I remember just like the countdown to the series. I remember I did a literal 7-day countdown. And every day I did a different video talking about something or brought it on a different guest. And one night I just was like, what am I going to do tonight? And I was like, you know what? David Lynch says that Fire Walk With Me is very, very, very important to this new season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read the whole script to Fire Walk With Me on air. And I did. It took me 3.5 hours. And that was, my voice was killing me by the end, but but that was super fun. And we just had a lot of great, just the countdown was just great. And then we did the whole countdown to the premiere. We did like a big 4.5 hour countdown, and that was really exciting because I remember saying, okay guys, we're gonna start, and it's gonna start in 5 minutes. See you guys. We'll come back after. And I remember right after my wife was asleep, so I had to really keep it down. So I did I watched the first 4 episodes, and I did a little kind of quick reaction but I didn't know that a lot of people had only seen the first 2 episodes, right? I guess people didn't have the Showtime app to watch 3 and 4 in some countries. So they were like jumping the gun when they heard me talking about like, what is this Naito? And,
oh no,
no, it wasn't a bad thing. It just was like, but that video, was close to 30,000 views. So, I mean, a lot of people were like, and that was kind of fun. Getting people all excited about that. But yeah, we had a lot of cool people, obviously you, and on the same night, Hal and Frank joined the show. I didn't want to do a show alone, so I put out a call saying, hey, anybody want to come on? And both Hal and Frank wrote to me, and I had them both on, and they became lifers for at least, several months. And I remember halfway through season 3, in the chat, because I was watching it, and Joey was in the chat, and I didn't know Joey, and somebody said, oh, Joey, I really like your YouTube content. Why aren't you on this channel? And somebody said, and then Joey wrote back, well, I don't know them, but that would be super cool or something like that. And so I reached out to Joey, and then he joined the channel.
Wow.
It was kind of like that. It was sort of like this domino effect of one by
Yeah.
one. And then Joey started going out with Danielle. And so Danielle then joined the show. And then do you remember Alice Lynch? She's the one that designed this cool little graphic up here. She was just an amazing artist. I haven't heard from her since that time, but she was incredible. Then obviously, then Emma came in, the vlog lady, and then she wasn't on our channel all that much, but she came on 3 or 4 times, and that was a lot of fun. And it just every night, because what we would do is we would do like an instant reaction, and then we would do a couple discussions throughout the week. Then we would do a watch along. So by the time we got to the next week's episode, it was like 4 to 5 Twin Peaks discussions all week.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of videos. I remember there's that podcast Twin Peaks Unwrapped, and when they celebrated their 200th episode, Joey wrote to me and goes, 200 episodes? Didn't we do 200 episodes alone in the summer of 2017?
Yeah,
I was like, it felt like that, didn't it? But it just was, all I can do is think back about that time and smile. I get messages still to this day saying that they get sad when they watch those old episodes because they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons why people aren't around. To be honest, most of it is just that, people were interested in Twin Peaks at that time because it was on.
Mm-hmm.
And, people aren't interested in talking about it for the long run. You know what I mean? A few other little things here and there, I'm sure we can talk about later. But for the most part, it was just kind of like, people just moved on to other stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, truly, truly wonderful having these people around. And it was also during this time that, I mentioned this on the last show with James, but it was like, that's when, the show was kind of at its fever pitch, and James and I, for whatever reason, he was really getting on my nerves, and he was doing things that just was not making sense to me at all. And I would be like, what is going on? And then he would like get mad at me or snap at me. And it just was a lot of back and forth. And it was like, there was so much going on that I was just like, I can't deal with this right now. I used to be able to deal, but that was back in 2015, 2016, when nothing was going on. Now it's like, it's a flurry of activity and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this weird post on the Facebook page, Twin Peaks Worldwide. I didn't recognize who it was from. It was like some gibberish name. I couldn't even read it. And so I deleted the post. I was like, I don't know who this is, And James wrote to me and goes, well, why'd you delete that post? And I said, because I don't even know who that person is. And it looked like we got hacked. I didn't even understand. It wasn't even like a David Lynch story or anything. It was just like, I don't even know what it was. It just it was by somebody I didn't recognize. And it was a gibberish story as well. So he said, how dare you delete things off the page? And I was like, oh my God. And then finally I said, James, calm down. I don't even know what you're talking. I don't even know who this person is. Anyway, so then he said, he just wrote me one sentence. He just wrote, wasn't even a full sentence. He wrote, you gay C word to me at 5:30 in the morning, my time. And I was just like, okay. And for whatever reason, in that moment, I just snapped and I blocked him personally on Facebook. I took him off the Facebook page and just said, bye. Yeah. And I always figured, I don't know, a few days would go by, a week go by, and he'd be like, okay, because that was usually his thing, was like he would do something and then like, it would just all die down, whatever. But in this particular instance, because he was so wound up from the show, he just got super ticked off. And of course, he was getting a lot of viewers too. So he like got them all to come after me after that moment. And that became, so while we were doing our show and James was doing his Twin Peaks Coffee Time show on his channel, there began this sort of like rustling where like his viewers were upset that he was no longer on my channel, and so they would come over and start kind of trolling Son, it just, it just became a large headache, and nobody needed it, nobody wanted it, and it was hell to go through in many areas. But I know James regrets all that, from the past, but so I only bring it up to put it in context as to what was going on.
Yeah.
And that was just a crazy time. It was just, I mean, as much as fun, it also was a crazy time because, we had people from his chat that would come and like try to shut down my YouTube channel at one point, because at that summer YouTube was doing this really dumb thing of like, it was called being a hero, where you could just like flag videos, and then YouTube would just go, oh, it's flagged, so it must be bad. So like it didn't take very long for people in his chat to like flag our videos, and the next thing you know, we couldn't even do our videos live anymore.
Yeah.
So we had to go over to this VidMe channel, which was ridiculous, and we would record and then upload to that, and then I would download from that and then re-upload it to YouTube. It was insane, to say the least.
And there were no lives, right?
Halfway through season 3, we had to stop.
Yeah.
I think episode 8 was the last one we did live. And then I think, I can't remember when it came back. It either came back right before, it came back before the finale, because we did the because we did the countdown to the finale video.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was the greatest time. It was a hectic time. We were just busy. Everybody was like, we were doing shows all the time. Obviously we had a giant rotating amount of guests, so not everyone had to be on all the time, but a lot of people did make time to be on there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any fond memories of that summer like that?
I think all of it, really. It's just, again, it was nice to be able to be in a community, even if it was just online, of people that love something that you love too.
Right.
And there was excitement, and we'd put out all of our theories and they were all wrong, and that just became hilarious to me, just to see like what kind of crazy things we have in our heads and how it's just completely the opposite to what happened.
We weren't entirely wrong about everything, but I would say
we're mostly wrong about
I know 90%. Yes. But I did call it that Laura Palmer was going to be alive at the end.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just, again, it's just fun. It's meeting new people and just having good conversations and just being able to be dorky about the show that you've loved for so long. It was great.
And we had, at one point when Hal and I did episode 8, Instant Reaction, we had over 500 people in the chat. I couldn't even read it. It was moving so fast. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So, and we had a lot of great viewers. I know I'm going to forget some people. I apologize, but just off the top of my head, obviously Jamie was a big viewer. She was there all the time. Carolina, Jason, Kirsten, Millie. We had a couple Stephanies, Sandra, Kendi, Anika, Arby, Andrew. Can you think of viewers that you remember off the top of your head that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, like Jason. I love watching his videos on Instagram. They're just fun. And Matthias, and
that's right.
Who else was I thinking? Star Effer, whoever that was. He's fun. It's not his actual name. And my favorite is Steve, obviously. My Stevie. So
that's right. That's right.
We'll be friends forever. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hold on.
Don't go away.
I know. Sorry. Okay.
You're back.
My mom's texting me. I'm like, stop. So yeah. So people like that they're just awesome.
All right. So the day of the finale comes, and we're going to we're doing a mirror of the countdown to the premiere. The day of the finale comes, we're going to do a countdown to the finale. And it's a big day. I mean,
and Carl too. Let's not forget Carl.
That's right, Carl.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's just so many. There's so many people.
Yeah.
Let me just go to this here. We had this is the countdown to the finale. Look how different the room looks. This is what happens when you have a kid, folks. The room completely changes here. But we had oh my god, there you are. Look at your hair.
Yeah, I was in California.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was at Andrew's house.
So we had, there's, Joey down here and Joel and Annie and Hal and Debbie, and Brett here from Alternative Nation.
Oh yeah.
And this guy show. I remember I just was like inviting anybody who wanted to come on. And then we had Lisa Coronado show up.
Oh yeah.
And let's see.
Wasn't John on that one too? John, Deputy Chad?
Oh, no, we had him come on. He came on for the 24-hour.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. So there was a lot of
this one here, this finale one, I had just missed Sabrina. So I was like,
oh, is that what happened? Yeah. All right. So basically is, we were all feeling high about the whole thing, and it's the finale. And I had only briefly on the briefest messages talked to Sabrina about maybe being a guest on the show. And she was always like, oh, thank you, but I'm busy, as an executive producer of Twin Peaks would be.
Yeah.
But it was quite fun, like being able to just like, instant messaging.
Yeah.
Producer in Hollywood. Anyway, so I messaged her on this day, and I said, hey, we're doing a countdown to the finale. And she goes, oh yeah, I'm busy, as you would be, right? It's the finale of Twin Peaks, right? Yeah. And I said, well, you don't have to come on for very long, and you don't even need a camera. It's just, can you just come on for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll think about it. And then I'm on the show, and we're doing the show, and then all of a sudden, boom, Sabrina shows up, and everyone, I didn't tell anyone I was doing this.
Oh, really?
Oh no, they didn't know. And that's why Debbie was like,
oh yeah, in her pajamas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's Alice Lynch down here.
Yeah.
And Richard, and look how young Joey looks. My goodness, everybody looks so young. And I think it's all because we hadn't gone through the Queen of Hearts ordeal just yet, and and then the pandemic and all the other stuff. So
yeah,
that certainly can age you. But anyway, so Sabrina came on, and it was just like, that, I mean, if anything legitimized the channel after that entire summer, it was that moment, because it's just like you felt like people got it, and there were a lot of Twin Peaks channels out there, and there was a lot of Twin Peaks content out there, but I always thought that our channel was sort of the hangout channel. Like 25 years later is where you would go for like these huge essays, like that would like dive in all these details, and there'd be like Wow Lynch Wow that would do the videos that would go into details and stuff like that. And like ours was just kind of like, let's hang out and just talk about the show.
I'm still obsessed with Wow Lynch Wow videos. Great.
And Pete Peppers and all of them. Remember them?
Yeah.
But like our channel was about like, we're going to talk about theories, but we're also going to just talk about what it's like to be a fan and what it feels like to be a fan of this world, and David Lynch and Mark Frost. And it was, that to me is what always made this channel what it was, because I always wanted to be, kind of like when you would hang out with friends in high school or college and be talking about your favorite movies and TV shows. It's like, well, what if you could record those conversations and then share it with the world?
Yeah.
And I always thought that would be really fun, just to sit around with a bunch of friends, talk about your favorite stuff and share it with the world. And like I said, while I had always wanted this channel to be more than just Twin Peaks discussions, at that particular time, I just said, you know what, Twin Peaks, it's the first time it's come back in, 25 plus years. we're going to double, triple, quadruple down on this. And we're just going to make the entire channel about Twin Peaks this entire summer. We're going to make this the summer of Twin Peaks, because I think that summer something else was going down too. Another show was coming on. I can't remember what it was, but and I said, I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not even go near that. I'm going to wait till Twin Peaks is over, and then I'll go and watch that. I can't remember what it was at this moment, but yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, so Twin Peaks was over, and I remember just going like, okay, well, what to do next. I mean, I think a lot of us at the end of season 3 just assumed by that ending, all right, another season's coming. It's going to be, a few months maybe goes by and they'll make an announcement, because that ending, obviously we've all come to terms with that ending in different ways, but that ending does kind of feel like that last episode in many ways does feel like the opening of a new series as opposed to the closing of season 3. I know there's discussions you can have back and forth about it, but at the time, I'm just going back at the time in September of 2017, it felt like a backdoor pilot for a season 4.
Yeah.
So I remember just going, God, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? And, for a while, a couple weeks, we were just carrying on the way we had. We weren't, of course, doing 5 episodes a week, but we were doing a few things. And we were still getting a huge audience because, people were obsessed with season 3 and was mean and this, that, and we were all still talking about it. And to be honest, we still are. But I mean, we were so popular on this channel that one night Hal and I were talking about the show. And I can't remember how it happened, but I said, or Hal said, that's an excellent question for Amy Shields. I wish we could ask her. And I can't remember who it was. It's been a while since I watched that episode, but it's still online. And I don't know if it was us or one of the viewers or whatever, but like one of us said, God, I wish we could just get Amy Shields on the show and ask her. By the time we finished the episode, Amy Shields was on our show.
Yeah.
So that completely shows you how big this channel was. That 45 minutes into a show, we could say, I wonder if we could ask Amy Shields that question. And by the end of the 2 hours, she was on the show.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I can't remember if I was ever on any of the ones with her. I was with Zoe. She's a sweetheart. I can't remember if I was ever on one with Amy.
I don't know, but you were on the one with Jake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
And that was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I mean, I just couldn't, it was so unbelievable to me that we could just be like, I wonder what she'd say about that. And then we had her on the show.
Yeah.
And that was because we had 400 people in the chat who all tweeted at her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And next thing I know, she's calling into the show. Unbelievable. I will never forget that kind of thing.
That's great.
So anyway, so we got to the point where it was like, what are we going to do next? And I wasn't quite sure. And I was just kind of thinking about it. And then Hal told me, he goes, hey, have you seen the summer house at Pearl Lakes? And I said, no, what is that? And he goes, well, it's like a fan film that this guy named Thor Lee had made. And it just won at the, I believe at the US festival. It may have been the UK festival, but I think it was the US festival. He may have won at the UK festival too. I don't know. But he said, you should really check it out. And I said, fan film? Huh. I mean, I had seen like some of the Star Wars fan films, but I never really watched maybe I'd seen one Twin Peaks fan thing, but it was only like a couple minutes and it didn't really have any story to it. It was just basically like a little mood piece. And I really honestly don't remember too much about it, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. I said, what's it about? He said, what's about Leland Palmer as a little boy. And like what happened? I was like, well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent it to me and I really didn't know what to think. You know, I mean, I hadn't seen it. So I hit play. I think it's about 5 minutes if you take out the credits. It's very short, but it's very complete. Now I know Thor has gone on to make spin-offs or not spin-offs, but he's done sequels that are longer. I think the last one is like 37 minutes long or whatever. But this, I'm just talking about the first one. It was like 5 minutes. And I remember sitting there watching and going, okay, like, yeah, this is nice. It's fun. And it looked nice. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know, this is something that you might be able to do now, because obviously technology is cheaper now. Because years and years ago, I brought this up on the previous show with James, back in um 2013, I had thought about maybe doing a sort of like 20-minute short film for like Lynch's birthday. And I thought it would be really cool to kind of do sort of like Annie, like uh like realizing that the doppelganger's not Cooper. And I would cross that with Cooper and Wyndham Earl playing chess. And it was just going to be like this, just kind of this little back and forth thing, because I knew I could never get the money to do the full story. So I thought maybe I could just get enough money to do a little bit. And so I dipped my toes in that water. Obviously, people had no idea who I was, so I didn't raise very much money, and so that was that. But when I saw Thor's film, I thought, okay, well, my film's going to be obviously a little longer than 5 minutes. It's, you know, and I wasn't sure what he put into his film in terms of money, but I knew mine was going to cost more just because it was going to have more locations. And I thought, well, that could be an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, you know, we had a lot of people watching. And I thought this is going to be the moment where I'm either going to make the case for it, because if there was ever a time to do it,
Yeah.
this was the time to do it, because they didn't really, except for that one moment, they didn't really mention Annie in the show. The Secret History of Twin Peaks book that Mark Frost had done the year before dropped all mention of Annie. In fact, they even erased her from the timeline. So I was like, well, I mean, it's not like I'm infringing on their storyline. They completely dropped her.
No.
And I know people have said to me, well, you know, it's because David Lynch didn't like Annie Blackburn. And I'm like, well, yeah, he really didn't like her so much he stuck her in Laura Palmer's bed in Fire Walk with Me and made her like the prominent centerpiece, like, moment of the whole movie. So I was like, anyway, so I floated this idea to Hal and Frank and you, and I thought, what do you think of this idea? And you guys seemed to be kind of receptive to it. Obviously, you didn't really know what I had in mind entirely, but I was like, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And I was like, and we could maybe do it as like a crowdfunding thing. And that would be a way for us to continue maybe doing the shows, still talking about Twin Peaks season 3, but kind of weave it into, hey, while we're all sitting around waiting for them to announce the season 4, let's try to get the money to do this. And then what we can do is make Queen of Hearts. And then by the time it's done, season 4 will be out and we'll all be happy. And we'll just, you know, continue on our merry little way. Very idealistic thinking on my part here. But, you know,
Okay.
and I floated it out to people in the show too. Like in the audience, I said, would you guys be interested in this happening? And they'd be like, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of fan films, but with you, I think I would take a chance. And I was like, all right, well, this is either going to sink or swim. And I figure this, because I did it as a crowdfunding campaign where if we didn't raise the money, everyone got their money back.
Mm-hmm.
There are crowdfunders where what you raise is what you get. But I didn't want to raise, let's say, you know, a few thousand and then get that money because, like, what am I going to do with that? I can't make the film.
Mhm.
So I wanted to set it up where everyone would get their money back, or we were going to make the film. And I figured if we get the money to make the film, fantastic. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to do is like a step-by-step of, like, on the channel, how we made the film. And so people can watch the entire making of the movie while we're making while we're doing it, and kind of turn the channel also into like a how to make your own low budget indie Twin Peaks fan project thing.
Yeah.
And I figured, and if we didn't make it, if we didn't raise the money, well, then this will be an excellent case of watching me fail spectacularly live on YouTube.
Fair.
I figured this is going to be a win-win for YouTube either way. There were just a couple little hurdles that I needed to do, at least for my own benefit. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. One was, well, the first person I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to offend was Sabrina. And when I say Sabrina, I also mean Mark Frost and David Lynch, because, through her is you get to the other two.
Yeah.
Especially David. And because she had been on my show, and because, she and I had multiple, same friends online, I thought, well, if we do the crowdfunding, inevitably this is going to show up on her feed. And I didn't want her going, what the hell? What is this nonsense? Come, Queen of Hearts. What is this? What is this crap? So I wanted to just kind of like tell her what my intent was, what I was looking to do. I said, if you're, all right, well, I guess I'm going to read you my email that I wrote to her. And I do want to give a little trigger warning here. So in early 2014, my wife and I were going to have our first baby. Unfortunately, we had a problem. There was something called a placenta abruption, something that I had no idea, never heard of that term until it happened to us. And what that meant was there was an abruption, obviously, with the placenta, and our baby in the last few months of while it was being carried to term passed away. It was probably, one of, the hardest things I've ever gone through in my entire life. And as an adult, you have very, very few friends. I didn't know Mandy then. I didn't know a lot of people that back then. And so I didn't really open up and talk to anybody about it. And still haven't, because this is the first time I ever mentioned this online. Or really publicly, to be honest. The only person besides my family, of course, that I told about this was the weekend after it happened, and James and I were set to do a show about just babbling about Twin Peaks. And I thought about canceling it, and I was like, oh, I kind of need the outlet. So before we started the show, James knew something was wrong. He's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, we lost the baby. And he was like, so like, I'm so sorry. And like, so human. He dropped all that James kind of show, where he's just like a total goofball, and actually was a real human being. And I say that just because to this day, I never forgot it. So when people say to me like, well, James has been such a jerk to you in the past, and he's said all this stuff, and he's done all this stuff, and I guess it's all in the past now, but like, how come you still gave him a chance? Why didn't you just cut him off? And it's honestly because of that. because he actually, treated me like a human being. So, in the one of the factors of doing Queen of Hearts, if we were going to go ahead and do it, was my wife was now pregnant again. I did not announce this online, mainly because, you never know what's going to happen. And we learned that the hard way. And my wife and I were very much like, we don't even want to like really mention it online until, our families knew and stuff like that. But, we didn't really want to mention it too much online just in case something happened again. And so we thought, we'll say something when the kid is born and the kid is healthy and all's good. So I know some people later on, try to give me crap about like, how come you didn't mention you were going to have a kid? Well, first of all, it's none of your damn business. And second of all, it's like, it's just, that's our private life. And, we're talking about a Twin Peaks fan film here. So I just want to read to you my email that I wrote to Sabrina. And I just wanted to give you that trigger warning because I do mention it. And so this is what I wrote. Hi, Sabrina. I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you for all your hard work and support towards Twin Peaks and the fans of David Lynch's work as a whole. Your kindness and generosity is second to none, and it's wonderful having you online to engage with. As I'm sure you've heard a million times over by now, David Lynch and his work means the world to me. When I was a child, I remember being terrified as the opening moments of The Elephant Man played only to well up with tears as the film went on. I had a middle school teacher tell me about Blue Velvet when I was in the 8th grade. Hey, Cameron, you like weird movies? Here, check this out. So I bought it on Pan and Scan VHS. I unfortunately couldn't afford the widescreen Laserdisc when I was 13. Of course, that film blew my mind open in ways I was unprepared for in the best possible way. Twin Peaks launched on ABC that spring, and it changed everything for me. Perfect tone, mood, writing, directing, acting, music. I don't have to tell you. Heck, I even didn't wear a tie to my 8th grade graduation because I was so taken with David and having that darn top button fastened. However, when most of my new high school was watching Beverly Hills 90210 during the fall of 1990, being the 14-year-old who stayed home on Saturday nights and watched Twin Peaks at 10 p.m., didn't exactly make me the cool kid to them. I didn't care. I was happy. I remember seeing Wild at Heart 5 times in the theater I would later manage in my late teens. It was a beautiful movie palace that has since closed and has now become apartments. But with those red drapes and amazing sound as the title Wild at Heart crashed onto the screen with the roaring fire in the background, it became the greatest cinematic experience of my life. We also played the Straight Story there, and I saw firsthand so many people hug and call their loved ones, reconnecting and being tremendously moved by what they had just seen and felt. I could go on and on. So many amazing transcendent experiences not only makes me recall the films and work of Mr. Lynch, but also where I was in my life as well. Thank you for helping to be a part of that too. While I am not a full-time filmmaker myself, I did begin work on a film several years ago that is based on a true crime. It managed to get quite a bit of online attention, even with me being interviewed by CNN. Unfortunately, my film has stumbled like so many when it comes to financing. Maybe one day. Back in 2012, a friend of mine said to me, Cameron, you need to get yourself out there more. So when you decide to make another film, people will know who you are and support you through the process. Thinking about that, I agreed, and my YouTube channel, Obnoxious and Anonymous, was born. FYI, the name is making fun of the way so many people talk anonymously on message boards and say the most obnoxious things. However, I go out of my way to make the channel anything but. In fact, my first celebrity interview I ever did was with Jennifer Lynch. I've also spoken to Catherine E. Coulson just prior to her filming her scenes in season 3. In 2014, a few months before the entire mystery Blu-ray set came out, my wife and I experienced the hardest, most painful thing we ever gone through. Together, we made it through those dark days, and now being 2017, I can say that she has just passed her 10th week in pregnancy, and so far the signs are looking great. Sabrina, I can't tell you how wonderful it was having the missing pieces in between all that sadness and season 3 these past few months. The other day, my wife asked me about some creative endeavors I would like to do before our next child is born next spring. And out of nowhere, I said, I would love to do the Twin Peaks fan film I've always wanted to make since I was in high school in 1992. She was surprised to say the least, but was encouraging since she sees the happiness in my eyes whenever I speak about the show. If I do decide to make it, I wanted to let you know beforehand as a courtesy, in case you see any online chatter or support in regards to it. This would in no way be anything that would hurt the name of Twin Peaks or negate Lynch or Frost's work. Also, I'm fairly certain the story is one neither man will ever touch, so that also gives me a point of entry, tracing Annie Blackburn's journey from exiting the Black Lodge to appearing in Laura's bed. I know every year at the Twin Peaks festivals, fan films are shown, so you are definitely well versed in the creativity of people within the community. As an independent filmmaker, not making a penny off this, I wanted to reach out to you before you all possibly heard about this anywhere else and hope for, at the very least, your silent support in this undertaking. Sabrina, I thank you for taking the time to read this rather long email. You and your team are truly the greatest, and I wish you the best in everything you do. Meanwhile, take care. So that is what I sent to her. Sabrina, I'm sure you remember how nervous I was. Like, what is Sabrina's response going to be? If there was going to be a response, I don't know. I mean, she's busy. And I got a response, I think. I'm going to say, if not later that day, the next day.
Yeah, she's quick to respond.
Very, very quick. And I was a little bit nervous to open this email because I figured, this would be the make or break. I mean, if she had said, Cameron, that's lovely, and thank you, but we kind of would prefer if, people didn't, do this kind of thing. If she had said that, there's no Queen of Hearts, right? So I was like, okay. But I mean, we hadn't begun the crowdfunding yet, I just was like, I'm going to tiptoe into this and just see what she has to say. So this is how she responded back. Dear Cameron, thank you so much for your heartfelt letter. You obviously have such a love for Twin Peaks that I cannot say anything but thank you for sharing. I am so sorry to hear about the child you lost, but I am just as elated to hear things seem to be on their way for another child. That makes me happy. I am also happy to hear you will try your hand at another creative film. It will be great to do anything you want. It's an honor that you want to make something related to Twin Peaks. I hope that everything goes well. I will say that David doesn't watch these kind of films, though it's a deal with Twin Peaks, but I'll look forward to seeing it when it's done. Thank you for giving me the heads up.
That's awesome.
Good luck to you, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future. And also, you should look back again at your documentary you want to make. All the best, Sabrina. So she could have just said, please don't do that. That email is that really gave me the okay,
Yeah.
And it's not, this is something we'll talk about later, but it's not Showtime giving you the okay. It's not Lynch Frost Productions giving you the okay, with a contract and a stamp of approval and all this nonsense. It's one creative person to another creative person saying, enjoy yourself, have fun. And I look forward to seeing it. So, some people would give me crap later saying I want to see Showtime saying that you had full permission to make this film. It's like, what are you talking about? Did Thor Lee get Showtime's full permission before he did The Summer House of Pearl Lakes? No.
Well, that's the thing, and it's not required if you follow the rules.
Exactly.
Right? It's not required.
But even that, it's some of these people put me in such a place of awkwardness. It made me feel like I was doing something wrong and terrible and a personal affront to Mark Frost and David Lynch. And let me tell you something. Now Queen of Hearts is over and done with. It has gotten nothing but love and support from any of the people that I was told were going to be pissed off about it.
Yep.
So anyway, I keep hearing anyway, people keep messaging. I don't know why. So all right, so we decided to we're getting closer to doing the crowdfunding, and one of our viewers, Millie, sends me the Annie doll.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And I was like, okay, this is another sign that we should make this film.
Oh.
And so between Sabrina's response, Millie's letter, and then let's see here. That's one thing I don't like about Facebook is that when you have the tabs open, it like
oh, they refresh?
Yeah, well, no, it's just yeah. So there was one other person that I wanted to touch base with before we did the campaign. And the reason why is because I thought, wouldn't it be really cool, because we see Annie in Laura's bed, and I wanted, obviously Annie disappears from the bed, that I wanted to have a moment of Annie on the infamous staircase at the Palmer house. So after I talked with Sabrina, and I figured, you know what? Okay, so the second person I'm going to talk to before we do the crowdfunding is going to be Mary Reber. So I wrote to her on November 12th, 2017. And I wrote, "Hi, Mary. We've never met, but we share quite a few mutual friends on Facebook. I just wanted to thank you for your kindness and generosity to the Twin Peaks community. It really means a lot. Also, I wanted to pass along an announcement for a Twin Peaks fan film I'm hoping to shoot next year. I'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign in a couple weeks. If the film does meet its goal, I would very much like to discuss with you the possibility of grabbing a few shots at your location if possible. Thank you again, Mary, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. Sincerely, me." Now, one of the reasons why I felt that I could even ask her this is because people were taking pictures of themselves on the staircase underneath the fan all the time. And so I thought, you know, hey, I would love to have one of those moments with the actress playing Annie. Wouldn't that be amazing? So Mary wrote back, "Sure, you are welcome to do so." And I said, "Thank you, Mary. You're incredible. I will be in touch as the project moves forward." And she wrote, "Sounds great." So there it is. Sabrina's not going to be offended. Millie sends me the Annie doll. Mary Reber says, "Sounds great." And I'm going to keep in touch with her as the crowdfunding campaign goes. All is a go. All right. So the next thing is, you know what? I do want to give a little shout out to Millie here. We have, let's see, for those of you who don't know who Millie is, obviously I just showed you her doll, but we have, this is her. The Wyndham Earls here is wearing the shirt. Anyway, she has a Facebook page called Mod Pie, in which she makes a tremendous amount of dolls, not just Twin Peaks stuff, but and her dolls have been on the cover of Blue Rose magazine and all that.
She's incredible. Wow.
Very, very incredible. And she's friend of the show. She's been on this channel quite a bit, and not in a few years, but she has been on quite a bit. And she was also part of the campaign. It's like, you know, if you donate a certain amount, you were going to get one of her dolls. Nobody donated that much though, so she didn't have to make any of the dolls for that person.
Really?
Yeah, sad, but unfortunately. But I do want to show, there was this she did an interview with 25 years later, and the 25 years later asked her, your dolls are being featured as perks for high-level backers of Queen of Hearts on Indiegogo. How did that come about? And what are your thoughts on the project? And Melly wrote, I had watched Cameron's channel on and off over the years, came back to it after the return. I reached the point where I'd watched the Return series 3 about 4 times and felt that I had processed enough for the series as I could on my own. I always found Cameron and his regular crew to be respectful and a knowledgeable bunch. I use his show and another channel, Live with Roadhouse, which is Frank's channel, as background noise while making. Late last year, I made Annie the theme of Miss Twin Peaks. I cut up a vintage ottoman on my studio to get that right shade of green for the bottom of that very 90s dress she wears. I decided to give it to Cameron as a thank you for unknowingly keeping me entertained. I didn't expect that I was inadvertently spurring on his desire to make the project. I went on to his show a few times and offered to donate perks when he went into the campaign mode. I know very little about how this fan film is going to be presented to us, but I am sure it won't be offensive to the hardcore fans. What I do know has me intrigued for sure. Twin Peaks operates on a deeper level to us. It's sacred to the fans, so it's very sensitive ground to try and cover. It goes back to this community and helping people who are inspired by Lynch to create. We have no idea if it's coming back or when. It could be a very long time before Drink. So we need these projects to keep the momentum going and the discussions alive. Here. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So sweet.
Yeah. So there it was, right? So then I started thinking about like, okay, well, good crowdfunding campaigns have artists. We need like some art. We need some Twin Peaks art here. So I saw some art that was on the Welcome to Twin Peaks page by an artist, Cristiano. And you can see some of his art here.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this would be incredible if he did some mock-up art for Queen of Hearts for the campaign. I talked to his manager. Unfortunately, his prices were well beyond what I was going to be able to afford, especially since I wasn't sure if we were even going to be able to make the film. So I was like, okay, I guess we're going to have to just sit out that. This little part I'm mentioning here is going to come back later to bite me in the ass later. So just, hang on. But I do want to say that I never talked to Cristiano. I only talked to his agent, and all is good. And he's really great artist and all that. But I knew I couldn't afford him. So I had
on an aside, can you scroll back to that and show the Log Lady one?
I can't. I just closed it.
You just closed it. Okay. Andrew and Kenneth had got the Log Lady one, so they have this massive portrait in their house, and it's stunning in real life. Like his work is fantastic. So
absolutely.
Little plug.
But we did get some cool art here. Oops. Where we had the owls forming the owl sign up here. Cooper and Wyndham Earl playing chess, and they have the Annie and Caroline figures here as the chess pieces, and Annie being led into the woods by what was going to be the Bookhouse Boys. She kind of makes it look like the Woodsman. Looks like the Woodsman. But yeah. I really, really love this art by Nika. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Really, I mean, it's simple, but it's effective, and it's really what I wanted. So anyway, so we set up this campaign and we went to work. I mean, we just went all out on it, and people really took to it. I mean, it was basically, again, an excuse to just still talk about Twin Peaks. And we kind of weaved this in, and I will say this to anyone who's thinking about doing a crowdfunding campaign: it's a full-time job. I mean, I was doing live streams even when I wasn't even home. I was like putting the link across the page, and even having the Annie doll like sitting on the desk, and donate now,
Yeah.
and there'd be like people in the chat like we got it up to this amount. We got, in like Carolina and stuff, and Jamie were all like kind of put it all together. It just was incredible. And I remember thinking, oh, we're never gonna make it. And it was like, it was so stressful for so long, because it's like if we were getting like, say, $1,000, not even close, it'd be like, okay, that's not so stressful to me, because like, okay, we're not gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was just like hovering around 12,000, and then all of a sudden it's up to 17,000, and then there'd be no movement for like 6 days, and then all of a sudden we'd be up another 3,000. It was so chaotic, because it was like we were on this like bridge. Are we going or we're not?
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say thank you to Frank, because him doing his podcasts and videos, he was able to bring a lot of cast members from the series onto the channel to help us do kind of like discussions and things like that, and help promote not only Twin Peaks but Queen of Hearts and all that. And it was a great time. Again, I feel like that whole period from like May 2017 till the end of the campaign was just the greatest time ever on this channel.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And it's it does make me sad to think about it, because I miss so many of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And always be great to, they're always welcome. But it's yeah, that's that sometimes they always say, is it better to love and lose than it is to like never love, and it's like, would have been better to never have all these people on the channel than to have these people in channel and then have them disappear. It's just like, but it was just such a perfect time, and it was great. It's like, okay, the show is back. We're all together. We're all over the world, but we all share this common thing. We're gonna try and make this film Queen of Hearts. My wife and I are, we think this baby is gonna happen. It was just a wild, crazy, beautiful, chaotic time, and I'll never forget it, to be sure. Remember I did one show where I just let anybody on the I left. Remember, I left the house and I just let anybody come in, and like Pizzal came on, the horror YouTuber. He came on in like the Jason mask and scared everybody. And
yeah,
it's hilarious.
About that.
Then we'd have like people from James's channel trying to shut down those live streams, where it's like, we don't want Queen of Hearts to make money. And James was like, using his show to kind of talk smack about the film, but at the same time go, I do support Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
But who does Cameron think he can make a film? Shouldn't he like, this, I don't know. It's just, it was like 1 minute James was supportive of the movie. Then the next minute he wasn't supportive, it was hilarious. And he would like, he donated money to the movie, but then he would complain so much about the movie that I would just send his money back to him. And then he would donate the money again. And
oh my goodness,
it was chaotic, to say the least. But then we had a guest named Chaz. Do you remember him at all? And he came on a few times. And I remember visiting my mom, and we were at a casino, and he calls me and he goes, this is like early December. He's like, you know what this campaign needs? I know you did that introduction video. Talking about what you want to do with this film. But you're going to have to shoot something and get it up there on the campaign, so people have an idea, because people don't know you as a filmmaker. You got to give them an idea what this thing's going to look like, what this thing's going to, be like. And I was like, I don't know any actors, and I don't know, so I was like, but he's probably right. So I put out a call, anyone I knew in the area. So anybody looked like Heather Graham from behind, which sounds like really interesting. And that was just because I didn't want people to focus on a face, really. I wanted people to just kind of put their own idea of Annie Blackburn, and all that. So, but Chaz was right. I did need to make a video for it. Let's see. And
I remember that guy now. Forgot.
Yeah. All right. So that's 3. So pardon me. Is it? So let me. This is 1. Okay, so this is. I wrote next year with your support, which is hilarious, because it took me several years to get it made. But anyway, so I just now this actress, Mindy, she would later go on to be Diane in the film. But I just kind of wanted to give you this little voiceover of again, this was just like roughly shot just to kind of give a feeling of being lost in the woods and not knowing your place and where where is she going, what is she doing, but it was just kind of to give you a little feeling of, and she's talking about Wyndham Earl, and of course I'm showing all these California trees. But then the main thing is that she turns around and then she's in the bed, and she says, I only have one mission left in me, and she turns over on the bed and she says, find Laura. And I thought, considering that season 3 said find Laura and all that, that'd be kind of fun just to kind of throw that in there. So and that went over pretty well. And people like that a lot. But then I don't know whose bright idea it was. Was it my idea to do the 24-hour live stream?
Yes.
Okay. Well, anyway, I guess it was my dumb idea, but it was fun because we only made it 18 hours. We didn't even make it the full 24.
Didn't we? It felt like 4 days.
No, we only made it 18, and that was mostly because I got a leg cramp and I fell out of the chair. And Joey was dressed up as an alien at that point. And
I started reading the Lost Highway script.
Right. So we had completely lost the plot about midnight of our I think it was 3 a.m. Joey's time. But for that first 12 hours, it was great. I mean, we had lots of people involved, but by the end, it was like we were exhausted.
Yeah.
But we ended up we actually raised quite a bit that day. And the last 4 hours, it was a bit iffy. But let's see here. Is this it right here? Yeah. So here we are right here. This is the donate to Queen of Hearts here. And this is when this is we had Lisa on here, we had Zoe on here. This is Zoe's first appearance. And this is when people started writing like, hey, because Lisa had been on a few times. Lisa Coronado, she played the mother in season 3 that lost the little boy, and Zoe, of course, played the young woman in the supermarket
clerk. Yeah,
the clerk, and 2 incredibly important, crucial scenes in the series. There's Frank here, and people were writing into the chat saying, I think you found your Annie and your Caroline. Caroline being Lisa and Annie being Zoe. And I didn't know Zoe. This is the first time I'd met her. And she's who she is. She's wonderful. She's just got great personality, and we had good rapport and stuff like that. So, and she seemed interested. She's like, yeah, that people want me to play Annie. I'll do it. That sounds super fun. Yeah. And Lisa was really interested in Caroline as well. But again, we didn't have the movie wasn't a go. We hadn't done, we hadn't cleared the financing goal yet. But, it was good just to kind of get, just kind of like, because I didn't want to start cold turkey if we, got the money to do this film. So I started like kind of planting ideas and, or flags like, are you interested? Are you interested?
Mm-hmm.
And all that. So this was a lot of fun. The 24-hour stream here. I just called it 24-hour stream because that was the attempt. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, that opening, I got to tell you, Hal has to be one of the great, like, he should really be doing like charity auctions, because he was able to get people donate money like that. He was like harking back to his radio station days.
Yeah.
Just like, I was like, dang, Hal, I could never do what you're doing, but he helped me out. Everybody helped me out tremendously. And you know, but I do want to say that, like, while there's a lot of people who came and went, there's a lot of people like you and Hal and Joey that didn't go away. You guys aren't really doing the shows too much with me, but it's not like we've stopped talking. And it's just, I'm so grateful to know so many wonderful people in the community. It does mean a lot to me. And that whole time was just, like I said, absolutely fantastic. So, but I think where things really blew up was when I did this trailer. And let me just turn it up here for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Annie, are you there? If you can't see me, just listen to my voice. I know right now you must be scared, that you don't know where you are, or when you are. But just know, I'm right here with you. I'm not going to abandon you in the darkness. Not now. Not ever. Lord knows we've both been through too much as it is. Annie, don't be afraid. We're going to get you back, just as soon as you can deliver the goods. To tell you the truth, I volunteered, but they all thought Laura would freak out if I appeared in her bed. I, of course, explained that she'd already had a load of boys in her bed, so what was one more? I don't think the big man was amused. How about you? Did I achieve at least half a smile on that face of yours? Annie, I need you to stay focused, honey. I need you to stay with me. And never forget, you are not alone. Do you hear me? You are not alone. So hang in there. You are helping to save us all. Annie? Annie!
That's awesome.
And I remember when that dropped, so what happened was that he came on and did a guest with us. And we interviewed him for a few hours, and he was just a wonderful person, Jake Wardle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, can I ask you a favor? Could I, if it would take no more than 15 minutes of your time, can I get you to do like a little teaser trailer for the campaign? He said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's rock it. I said, all right, let's do it. So anyway, so the idea was that, obviously to do a first person, kind of like when you go on like a ride at the fair, not the fair, at like Disneyland or something, or like Universal Studios, and like you have like Christopher Lloyd from like Back to the Future, like talking to you while you're in line, like, okay, this is what we need you to do. We need you to get in there, get in the car, and knock Biff out of the sky, And I thought that's what I want. I want to kind of like give people a preview of the ride that Queen of Hearts is going to be, and have Freddie kind of giving, because obviously Annie is going to be out of time and space. Let's have Freddie be able to communicate with her, because obviously they're both engaged with the White Lodges. So he said, yeah, let's do this. That sounds great. And I recorded it around, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning that day. And that trailer dropped at 7 o'clock that night. And he was like, you already done? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my God. So I dropped it at like 7 o'clock at night, and people were just like, I remember the first comment on YouTube was boom. Somebody wrote boom in caps with exclamation mark. And all of a sudden the campaign that had kind of stalled for a little bit shot right through the roof.
Yeah.
And I made it very clear. I said, Jake is not going to be in the film, folks. Don't think for a second he's in the film. But this gives you, but it didn't matter. What people saw was, oh, that's what Cameron's going to do with this movie. Like, they felt the ambition of like, well, you're not going to have Jake in the film, but it looks like you're going to go just, above and beyond with whatever a traditional fan film work is going to be. That was always the intent, was to, just try to make the best film that I could. Anyway, so that exploded, and that was amazing. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I forgot all about that. I loved it. It's just exciting because you got Jake to do something, and now we've got like, new dialogue, and it's fresh and it's creative and just something different. So yeah, it was super exciting.
It was an incredible time. So we had Lisa, at this point, I was talking to her about playing Caroline, and I was talking with Zoe about playing Annie if we went forward, and they were both really game for it. I'm not sure if Lisa ever thought we were going to make it, but at the same time, she thought, well, that would be a fun opportunity. I hadn't yet decided if we were going to be shooting primarily in the Pacific Northwest or down in California, but Zoe was flexible. She's an actress from both areas, and Lisa's primarily the Pacific Northwest, but I figure, that would make sense. I could shoot Annie in California and Cooper and Caroline up in Pacific Northwest, and that could be a lot of fun. So Lisa, she went on, took to Twitter, and she says, this is a worthy project, especially if you're a Twin Peaks fan. So thank you, Lisa, for doing that. Mary Reber went on Twitter. Cameron's film would be a wonderful addition to Twin Peaks memorabilia. Please consider donating, as it would be a great thing to have this film. Krista Bell, I remember getting home one day, and Krista Bell was tweeting about Queen of Hearts, saying, this kind of devotion to the world of Twin Peaks is so touching to me. If you've ever felt the desire to help save Annie, now is your chance. Doesn't that blow you away? If you have ever felt the desire to help save Annie, now is your chance. So, like, again, it's like, if this was some sort of illegal film project, right, where I was sticking it to Showtime and CBS and Lynch Frost Productions, and I was trying to pull, the carpet underneath people and do something that was going to be terrible and land, all these people in court, or whatever, whatever people were making up that day. Krista Bell, who has David Lynch on speed dial, is talking about Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
And not only that, sharing the Indiegogo link.
Yeah.
So, it was just a bunch of hogwash. People have no idea what they were talking about. People just wanted to make up whatever, whatever horrible story that that they wanted to. And that was unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah.
But let's see. I'm trying to see if there's make sure there's nothing else here. Well, I guess we can kind of sum it up that right around this time of the campaign ending. So the Queen of Hearts crowdfunding campaign was set to go out, I think, around January 22nd or so. And January 20th, of course, is David Lynch's birthday. But on January 16th, 2018, just a few days before, probably, and I don't say this lightly, probably the most divisive post ever made in the Twin Peaks fan community was made. And it was this one here, by somebody who I did not know anything about, never heard the name before, as far as I was aware of, Mary Hutter. She, as many people would later tell me, she is the self-appointed queen of Twin Peaks fan communities. But everybody knew who she was. I didn't know who she was because, apart from running my channel and like admitting on a Twin Peaks fan page where I just kind of post pictures and stories and then go on with my life, I don't frequent with the community at large. I was excited by the community we cultivated on our channel, but I wasn't like on message boards. I wasn't on DugPa. I wasn't on Facebook communities, and that's not a knock against them. I would be on there all day if I was on those things. So I just kind of limit it to what I'm at. But when I say divisive, I mean divisive. So, and because she wrote this statement on January 16th, 2018, and this went everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. Like I'm not on these community things, and yet even I saw this post. This was sent to me. So it blew up bigly, basically. And she wrote, "Why I will not be attending the US Twin Peaks Festival." And I was gonna read the whole thing, but it's a little long. Basically what it is that she was a long time person who went to the US Fest for the longest time. I think since like 2004, maybe earlier. I don't know. But if you watch the Gold Box, when they show like the Twin Peaks Festival from 2006, she's on there. She actually came up with a really clever outfit. She showed up as as Madeline Ferguson on when Leland killed her. So she had the skirt and the blood in the right spot. So it was actually pretty good costume actually. Anyway, so she wrote this whole thing, and I can post this in the show notes below. So if you guys want to read this in its entirety, but it's basically talking about how she's gone to the fest for several years, but now because just a couple months prior to this, the whole Weinstein thing dropped in October of 2017, and so that kind of brought out a lot of people going, oh yeah, that kind of happened to me too, and so she she took her post and kind of used it as a way to talk about other people she knew in the community and how they all had regular bad experiences at the US festival. Again, I've never been to the US festival. I don't know anything about it. I didn't know Mary Hutter. I don't know the people involved that she's talking about. I just know this thing was so huge. It went everywhere every page was sharing it. Everybody was talking about it. Jennifer Lynch came out and condemned Mary's post. John Neff, David Lynch's longtime sound man that unfortunately just passed away, he came out and condemned this post. There were other people who condemned this post. There were fest goers who completely were backing Mary's post. I mean, yes, they were Mary's friends, but they were regular fest goers as well. So, basically saying there's a lot of sexual harassment policies that are being neglected, that the Twin Peaks Festival, basically she's saying, all the festivals, should have sexual harassment policies on their website, which is why I kind of made that point earlier, because Mary is affiliated to a rather good extent with the latest Twin Peaks Days Fest up there, and that website does not have sexual harassment policy. I'm not saying it needs one. I'm just saying if she's going to call out the US Fest for charging $300 a ticket and not having a sexual harassment policy, I do find it funny that when she gets a hold of and as a large part of a new Twin Peaks Festival, legit or not, there's still no sexual harassment policy. And that's not, I'm not against her. I'm just saying, people do remember these things, Mary. People do remember these things. And again, I have no affiliation with the fest, so I don't know if what she's telling the truth. From what people have told me, people have said, yes, these things happen, but these are embellishments. I don't know. Again, I wasn't there. Other people swear to me, no, this is how it happened. Okay, it doesn't matter. This is from January of 2018. What matters is that this thing created a situation where the Twin Peaks fan community was united, even if they disagreed with stuff in 2017 with the show and the way the direction of it was or whatever. It was pretty much still intact, and this post made people really choose sides, even if you didn't want to choose sides. Do you remember when this post came out? Do you remember when this happened?
I remember reading it. I have no comment on it.
Well, when you went to the fest, you weren't there at the time of the current of that.
No, I was there. I was there in the 90s. So
right.
That was a very, very long time ago.
Right. But it just that post came out and just there really, if there had been little infighting before, this burst open the doors. I mean, I saw people attacking each other left, right, and center about this post. And, and there's still ramifications of this post to this day. And I do think that it kind of set the stage for what would become, large portions of the Twin Peaks fan community where there is a lot of hostility and anger. And I'm not saying that this post caused all that, but what it did is it opened up the floodgates and it burst it open so people can just kind of, good or bad, just throw it all out there. So it, we're going to come back to this post as we go on, just because of the relevance of how it ties into other things. But, I do want to just say that, like, when I read that post and I'd seen it shared on a lot of people's pages, I was like, whoa. I mean, I had heard things about the US festival before. But I had never seen it detailed like she had. So I was like, wow, my God, I wasn't there, but I'm glad I didn't show up now, Anyway, it really put a damper on a lot of things happening. And that was like this was like the big bucket of cold water that was thrown onto the whole fandom community, because even if you didn't know who Mary was, and I certainly didn't, and I didn't know the festival people, I certainly didn't know them either. It stopped being, it's almost like, it wasn't entirely, but it was like the first roadblock that made you think, all right, maybe this fan community isn't so fun. Maybe there is darker things happening underneath with several people. And it just kind of, I remember it taking my breath away, and talking with a lot of people who Mary and I both have mutuals about this. And we were all kind of like, wow, like, anyway,
awful stuff. Awful stuff.
It is terrible. But again, the festival people who that she was leveling these charges against, I don't believe they ever made a statement about it. I mean, they just kind of carried on. They did the fest in 2018. They did the fest in 2019. And then when the pandemic happened, it got shut down. But I don't know what an effect this post had in helping to shut it down. It probably certainly helped speed it up. I mean, I do know some other things that happened earlier that I'll address about the fest at another time, because it comes into me interviewing somebody that perhaps has a different perspective about this whole matter. But I just remember, like, my God, we're the last few days of the Queen of Hearts campaign, and then this thing came out, and I was like, I don't even usually see anything, and all of a sudden, boom, this is all in my face. And it was just like, oh my God. But I couldn't really think about it too much, because one, I didn't have any, I didn't have any skin in the game, honestly. And I was like, okay, well, I guess they'll sort it out, whatever it is, but it definitely put a damper. But last thing, so we were getting down to the last couple days of the crowdfunding campaign, and I was like really tired, and I remember just going to sleep on the couch, and I woke up, I don't know, it was around 5:30, 6 a.m. I don't know. And the phone, like, when people talk about the phone blowing up, the phone was blowing up, and I was like, oh my God, who died?
Yeah,
Like
right. Yeah.
something happened. And I opened it up. I can't remember if it was Twitter or Facebook first, but I opened up something, and maybe it was on YouTube, and people were just like, congratulations. I'm like, congratulations about what? I mean, I was like, no, but I just want to, this was the first thing that I saw. And want to share this with you. Let's see.
Oh, George.
5:10 a.m. on January 21st, and Queen of Hearts has surpassed its 25,000 campaign goal on Indiegogo. Queen of Hearts is happening. This is just this just broke. As you follow this channel, we just wrapped our watch along of season 3 of Twin Peaks tonight. And the goal was still around 86% when that ended. A few moments later, bam, it surpassed 100%. This is huge. Holy jumping George, this is huge. Just so excited. I don't know when I'll be getting to sleep, but this is just so freaking huge. I am so thrilled and happy for Cameron. Big congrats to him. He, fought the odds. He surpassed so many obstacles. He always had this. He has the winning spirit, the spirit of the underdog, never to go down without a fight. And like Bushwell Mullins, Battling Bud, he persevered, and now Queen of Hearts, a Twin Peaks fan film, is happening. This is so freaking huge, people. This is just so great. I'm not sure if he's gone to news yet, but he will soon. And this is just going to be, this is just really great for him. I'm so proud.
And there it is.
That's awesome.
Queen of Hearts was happening. And do you remember where you found out? How did you find out?
You probably texted me at an ungodly hour in the morning.
No, because I found out in the morning. Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, anyway,
you would have texted me at some point.
Probably, so. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that moment. I remember my wife was in the kitchen making tea, and I said, well, it looks like the film's happening. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah. And I said, and then I remember thinking, okay, now I got to make it. So
yeah,
I think that's where we're going to leave off today. There is somebody though that I haven't mentioned yet. And we were talking about viewers and things like that. I do want to give a special shout out to your friend Andrew. He unfortunately passed away. He never got a chance to see Queen of Hearts, but Andrew Daniel was his name, and he was incredibly supportive of the channel, incredibly supportive of you being on the channel, incredibly supportive of Queen of Hearts. And there's a lot of people that come and go, and I talk about that on this channel in terms of like people who've been on the channel and then no longer on the channel. That we've also lost a few people, and like, it's truly sad. Like there was, there was one guy named Bud that super supportive of the film, was always very discouraged whenever there were downs, and then an up, then a down. He passed away after seeing Act 1 of Queen of Hearts.
Oh.
But it does make me feel a little nice to know at least he saw something. Andrew unfortunately didn't get a chance to see that, but I know that he has to be aware that the film got made. And I'm pretty sure that his spirit helped carry me over the finish line, because he really wanted the film to happen. And I know he was super supportive. And obviously I didn't know him as well as you did, but if I ever had a question or something, he always responded back with kindness and love. And I just
Yeah.
just want to give a shout out to him. I also want to give a shout out to Dean, who George said, it was at 86%, and all of a sudden, bam, it was at 100%. And that's because we had a viewer named Dean that really wanted to see Queen of Hearts so much that he threw, several thousands of dollars into the film. Indiegogo goal. And so thank you, because that's how the film ultimately happened. And I remember when I always had it that, Annie was going to be palling around with this, kind of bookhouse boy, but I didn't have a name for this person. I knew kind of like what he was going to look like. I always described him, he'd probably be sort of like this, like James Dean kind of guy, but I never really thought about a name about it. But then when this viewer named Dean threw in all this money to help get the film over its goal, I was like, dude, I said, I'm gonna name a character after you. And he said, okay. I don't think he realized what character I was going to name out. But the character of Dean now, to several people watching the film, is they consider that character canon in their minds, and so that's wonderful. And I can't believe we hit the goal. Again, I figured if we got there, fantastic. If we didn't, it was going to be a spectacular failing, but it was going to be truly something to behold. While I have you on here, I'm going to jump the gun just a little bit. You were with me at the beginning when I thought, should I do this? You were one of the first people to actually read the script. The film has since come out. What do you think? Be honest with me. What do you think of the film? Queen of Hearts? From when I described it to you to what you now see, what do you think of the film? And was it worth the struggle, Mandy?
Yes, it was. It was 100% worth the struggle. And that's what's neat about watching when you see the finished product, is that, like, I remember when you first told me about that dream that you had, of certain images that you had that you wanted to see. And then there was the script, and then there was this and that, and some drama, and, recasting and playing around with this and taking this out and putting this in and all that. So to see it from start to finish was just really exciting, and it turned out beautiful. It turned out, I think, better than any of us anticipated. We knew that you were going to produce something good, but then to have that was just like icing on the cake. Like, it's a beautiful movie. It's great.
I think I always knew that the film would be good if I could pull it together. And obviously the film went through a lot of hardships, which we can get into another time. But because of those hardships, it made it more like, this is more than a movie. Dang it. You know what I mean? Like now we have to really make it. And while I feel like the film always would have been something, I think it feels a lot more like you feel every bit of emotion in the film. You feel it's heart. I mean, I remember so many people talking about, I can't believe how heartfelt this thing is. Like, you feel like the love of Twin Peaks in it. And even I mentioned the vlog lady. I mean, she wrote to me on Twitter, said, I'm crying now, thanks. After she watched the ending. A lot of people were tremendously moved by the ending. And that's, I was moved by the ending just because it took me so long to get to it, that I was like, oh my God, it's over.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's over. Because again, the idea was that we were going to make Queen of Hearts over the 2018 year. And then probably by 2019, we might get a season 4 or a starting of a Showtime movie or something that Lynch and Frost made or whatever was going to happen. Obviously, that didn't happen on their end, and Queen of Hearts wasn't done on my end. Now, I don't know if it was Hal that said this, but somebody said to me, I think they said, I think one of the smart things you did is you didn't give a timeline as to when the film was going to be completed by.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't even think about that. I just thought, well, I'll just make it over the next year. But that ended up being a blessing because that meant that we could take our time. It also meant that other people could troll us and say things like, well, it's taken forever and a day for you to, make this movie. And it's like, ultimately, the movie came out about the same time as it took a Star Wars movie to be made or The Dark Knight. It took, about 3 years. So it's not like it took me 10 years. And even when it did take me 10 years, a good movie is a good movie, and also, so many people trusted me to make this film. Like I said, when I announced the idea, like, what do you think about this idea? And they would say, well, I think I'm not so sure about fan films, but with you, I'd take a risk, right? Well, I didn't want a lot of those people who took that risk, a lot of those people who really weren't sure what the heck this thing was, but they went out of their way to make sure that, Carolina, I remember writing to me and saying, oh, I think there's a way that we can get the crowdfunding campaign to extend a couple weeks, which ended up being a huge lifesaver for the film.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like there were so many people that were rooting for this thing to happen that I couldn't just walk away. Some people would say to me, like, I would have just, scrubbed my hands and left, and you stuck with it. And and I was like, well, there was a lot of people who believed in me, a lot of people who believed in the project. I believed in me. I believe in the project. I just knew we could do this if we could just find the right people. And then one day the right people showed up and the film got made. So, and we will be talking about that in a future video. But Mandy, I gotta say, going down memory lane is truly something. Last thoughts. The year of 2017. I mean, when you started 2017, you had no idea that by the end of the year, not only would you be a YouTube celebrity, but you would have an entire fan base with the Gays for Mandy fan club that followed you everywhere.
The gays love Mandy and I love the gays. No, that was such a funny thing. But no, I mean, it's just I love meeting new people. The older you get, the more people kind of vanish in your life and stuff. And even just to, like, I know that I can, text Steve at any time and he's over in England and I'll get a happy little note from him, so I didn't have friends in England before. It's cool. And
has he watched Queen of Hearts? Because I've never heard back from.
I don't know if he has.
Okay, because I know that portions of the Twin Peaks fan community made him so upset about future things that happen that he just kind of turned his back on the whole community and just said, I'm done with this. I do hope he did see it or we'll check it out, because I think he will find that original love that drew him to our channel too.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, 2017 was a very unforgettable year. Let's put it that way. There were a lot of things that happened, and having, I had some ups and downs in my life too. And having this community to kind of focus on it was a game changer. It was really great. So I miss it.
Yeah. It gave us something to lose ourselves in and also focus on, and
something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
And again, it was like doing shows almost on the daily. I mean, on my end, it definitely was almost on the daily. And it was a different time because obviously I didn't have Mr. C. So I had all this free time. I'm amazed. It's like, he's out in the living room playing right now. This is the longest I've ever been recording where he hasn't like stormed in and like interrupted and wanting to be on camera. So yeah, I mean, I think that 2017, like when I was younger, again, 1990 was like when I discovered Twin Peaks. There's nothing like it, right? It's never going to be anything like that. Seeing Fire Walk with Me in the theater, the build up to that, it's going to be nothing like it. The difference is that was like me and like a few people, and 2017 was like me and a bunch of me's like all over the world, all coming together and sharing in this love that went through the entire spring and summer, all the way through Queen of Hearts campaign. And then we hit the goal. And then it was like, okay, now I got to make it. But it also dawned on me, oh my God, there's people all over the world that want to help make it. But I kind of need people here.
Yeah.
Because I can't get somebody in Iran to help me make the film unless it was like a prop or something like that, you know. But yeah, so it was the best of times, and in some ways it was the worst of times, because like I say, you know, like I didn't expect, you know, there to be turbulence in my relationship with James during that time, and so that was hard. And just, I mean, it'd be one thing if we were just like doing our own thing, but like I know that his viewers were really wanting to start a war between him and I. And so they would like, you know, feed him stuff, and then they would come over and try to feed us stuff, and then they would try to shut us down and make it try to look like he was trying to shut down our channel. And it just, you know, then I didn't know what to think, you know, like what is going on. And so a lot of great things, a lot of misunderstandings in other ways, I guess, but I'll never forget it. I'll never forget 2017 as long as I live.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are, you know, wanting another season. Yeah, they want to have, you know, another Twin Peaks, but I think it's almost like wanting to re-experience like a senior year in high school again. It's like, I want that year again, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're ever going to get it. Probably not, with the passing of Angela Badalamenti and John Neff and so many other people, Julie Cruz and you know,
My gosh, the list goes on.
It goes on and on and on. I mean,
awful.
I mean, David Lynch took like a 3-4 week break from his weather report, and I guess, I mean, it was scheduled obviously for the holidays, but how could the man not take a break after just, it was like one after the Al Strobel, it was one after the other. It just was
Lenny,
and
and
then
that
we just
a few days ago.
Yeah, exactly. Evelyn Marsh. It gets to the point where I'm scared to death to open up social media. It's like, okay, who's going to die this week?
Yeah.
You know, so.
And
I mean,
I kind of think too that like, if I feel like, and I'm probably wrong, but like if he had something that he was actually going to do, it's like 90% done. You know, I don't think he would still be sitting on something, just because there has been such an influx of the people dying. I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong about that too.
Well, remember, he has filmed a lot of things at his house before too. So it's not like he has to travel far. They could build things in his backyard. I mean, he built that whole Rabbits amphitheater thing in his backyard. So
I don't think the loss of as many people that we're seeing, I don't know if it's really going to greatly affect the projects that he's working on, because
but it would affect,
he works on them for so long, you know.
But it would affect your spirit if it was just like
100%. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about people we've lost that is like, you know, 1 or 2 people. I mean, imagine if like, you know, you lost 20 of your best friends in the last year, you know, it's like, oh
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not saying that properly, but like I'm thinking like if he had a show that was, you know, 80% in the can kind of thing, Angela would have written the score for it like 3 years ago.
Well, and as I've said to other people, it's like, you know, Angelo Badalamenti probably has 47,000 tracks that haven't even been used yet, because he would write so much music, and sometimes they would blend 2 or 3 of the music together to make another something. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that like David Lynch has enough music from Angelo Badalamenti, unreleased tracks, that if he ever wanted to use it. But yeah, it's
I'd
I
love
wish-
to see something from him again. I just don't know if we're gonna actually do it. See it.
like I said, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Like so many things, the new Twin Peaks Real Days Festival, David Lynch making another project. I don't know, me making another film one day, that would be great.
Yeah.
With less hardship. That would be wonderful. But
Yeah.
but Mandy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining me. And your hair looks great. And
Thank you.
and don't be a stranger.
No, I won't. I
All
won't.
right.
Thanks for having me. It's always a blast.
Yeah, I've missed having you on here. So thank you everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Be sure to follow us on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Email us anytime at obnoxious@anonymous@hotmail.com. My name is Cameron. Thank you so much again. We'll see you soon. Take care and bye-bye.